We're going to speak today more about individuals who must bring Pesach Sheni, and we're going to connect it to the machlokes that we left off yesterday between Rav Nachman and Rav Sheshes. The Mishnah spoke about one of the examples that the Torah gives of one who is exempted from Pesach Rishon and therefore is obligated to bring Pesach Sheni, and that is a Jew that is b'derech rechoika. Question is, if a Jew was b'derech rechoika, so he was exempt of bringing the Pesach Rishon, but if he made the effort and he brought Pesach Rishon nonetheless. So Rav Nachman holds that churza, good for him, he fulfilled his obligation. Rav Sheshes understands that b'derech rechoika means that since he was b'derech rechoika, that he's completely pushed out of Pesach Rishon, and even if he brought it, he was not yoitza, loy churza, and he's mechuyev to bring Pesach Sheni. Again, we're going to connect that machlokes into the Braisa that gives many examples of others who are chayiv to bring Pesach Sheni. And from there, we're going to speak about the fundamental machlokes. We are mamash towards the beginning of the 9th chapter, which is really the chapter of Pesach Sheni, as to how to understand Pesach Sheni. Now, we mentioned this in brief and very running 2 days ago in Tosfos, but the Gemara, the Braisa, is going to be on Daf Tzadi Gimel. And really, there are 3 options. It's 2 options that becomes 3 options. Rabbi holds that each Pesach is considered an independent obligation. So, for example, if someone converts between Pesach Rishon and Pesach Sheni, they have to bring Pesach Sheni. If someone becomes bar mitzvah between Pesach Rishon and Pesach Sheni, they have to bring Pesach Sheni. And then you're going to have the Tanach Rab Nosson and others that understand that Pesach Sheni is only a tashlumin. It's only, wie man sagt, a substitute payment for Pesach Rishon. And then on top of that, we have a third shita, which is like Rebbe Nosson plus, that not only is Pesach Sheni a substitute yomtiv, but now we're going to speak about the Isur Kares. If a person b'mezid did not bring Pesach Rishon, Pesach Sheni has the koyach to rectify that sin. And if the person at the end of the day brought the Pesach Sheni, he won't be chayiv kares. And we're going to learn the Gemara and we're going to explain how Rav Nosson disagrees with that. It's a substitute, but it doesn't have the koyach to rectify. In other words, there's payment, and then there's payment that Taka rectifies. On Daf Tzadi Gimel on the base, today we're going to learn the machlokes tanoim, how to define derech rechoika. And we already spoke about that yesterday, that our Mishnah we were explaining the derech rechoika, that when the Zman Shchita began, which is afternoon, you were that far away that if you were to walk straight, you would not make it to the Azara during the time of Shchita. That's the way we explained the beginning of the Perek. Really, we will see that it's a machlokes tanoim. And the Tana will hold derech rechoika simply means if you are outside the Azara, you are considered derech rechoika. Now, again, it's much easier to understand it according to Rav Nachman, who says that even though you were exempt, but if you bring it, good for you, you get the mitzvah. Rav Sheshes nonetheless will hold that since once you are defined as a yid that's b'derech rechoika, then you are completely exempt of bringing the Pesach Rishon. We're going to go from that into how quick can a person walk every day, how chazal, not how quick. What's the average distance do people cover a day? We're going to have the statement that people, when they walk 40 mil in a day, just to know that a mil is around a kilometer. 1 mil is 2,000 amas. 2,000 amas is, anywhere between 32 and 38 to 100 square feet. What's a kilometer? I think 3,200 square feet. People are in America. I'm used to kilometers. Kilometers and mil are very, very similar. And from that, we're going to get into tomorrow regarding the big subject of Shkia and Seis and the Shkina de Rabbeinu Tam, v'chulei. Okay, Chavre, let us start on the Tzadi Gimel Amud Aleph. We left off 6 lines from the top of the Amid, Tanach Rabbanan. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'ar kol ne'emador. Tanach Rabbanan elu she'oisin es hasheni. The following people bring Pesach Sheni. Zavin and Zavos. Now let's appreciate, we learned a few times already that Zavin and Zavos, even if the majority of the Jewish people have that type of tumah, the deferment to make the Pesach Rishon b'tumah was not given for Tamei Ziva. Nevertheless, if a person is Tamei, they can bring the Pesach Rishon. If Roiv, you don't have a deferment, you don't bring Pesach Rishon Betuma, but they have to bring Pesach Sheni, obviously, once they are already pure. So that goes to a male Zav, to a female Zava. Same thing, Mitzoira'in and Mitzura'ois. They can't bring Pesach Rishon because they were Tamei, so they have to bring Pesach Sheni. Anida, this is the first statement that many people say, wow, because we today, even prior to the coming of Mashiach, right, we practice Hilchas Nida. So understand, Chevra, that a woman who has the status of a Nida may not bring Pesach Rishon. And that's something that's relatively common. But she has to bring Pesach Sheni according to this Braisa. Now let's also remember, the Gemara is going to speak about it, that we learned yesterday or 2 days ago, the three-way Machloikes Tanoim, right? Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, regarding women, Pesach Rishon, regarding women, Pesach Sheni. Obviously, this Tanas ascribes to women the way the Girs is, that they can bring Pesach Sheni. If not only for them, at least as a add-on, Tefillos. Another Tuma is Boy Ale Nidos, if a person, whether b'mezid, God forbid b'mezid, or even b'shoigig, if a man had a relation with a woman while she was in Nida, he becomes just as Tamei as her. Not the way normally you have contact with Tuma. Nida is an Av. You have contact with an Av, you become a Rishon. For that, normally all you need to do is go to the mikvah, and that night you're completely good to eat kosher. But Yale Nidos becomes Tamei for 7 days, like a Nida. V'hayoldos, a woman who gives birth, whether after a boy, a week, after a girl, 2 weeks, these are the Dinei Torah, another type of Tumah. Or someone who was not Tamei, but he was a Shoigeg. The example that Rishonim give, this is just an example. There are many other examples, is that a person, Pashat, lost track of time. They thought today is the 13th. They didn't chap today is out of Pesach. Or V'ho Anusim, someone who knew today is out of Pesach, he wanted or she wanted to bring it, but some circumstance beyond their control held them back. The example will be someone is in jail, and that's even if someone was amazed and he purposefully did not bring it, he has to bring Pesach Sheni. And now the Braisa at the end gives the two examples that it says on the pasuk, Uvetamei or V'shahayi b'derech rechoika. All of them have to bring Pesach Sheni. So asks the Braisa, Im Kain, if they are all deferred to Pesach Sheni, Lama Nema Tamei. Why did the Torah give the example of Tamei? So the Gemara interjects and asks on the Braisa, Lama Nemar. No, you can't compare. The Torah had to speak about Tamei because the boy lemevel berishon leishafkinole. Unlike the Mezid, unlike the Shoigeg, well, the Torah has to give an example of people that may not bring it. And the Torah has to say that. Don't tell me, I already know that a Tamei cannot eat kachim. I already know that. No, we see that if the majority of the people are Tamei, not with the Nida, and not with Ziva, but with Tamei Meis and other Tumais, then they bring it Betuma. There are exceptions when it comes to Tuma and Pesach, because Pesach is considered a carbon Tzibur. So the Torah needed to write that if it's not the Roiv Tzibur, if an individual is Tamei, he may not bring it. So the Gemara therefore reinterprets the question of the Braisa. The Braisa meant to ask, Ella, Im Kain, Lama Nemer b'derech rechoika. Why did the Torah have to say derech rechoika? Answers the Braisa to tell you lepoitrem in Akaris that lebederech rechoika is a reason for which the person won't be chayiv kares. Now hold on a second. Now we have to bring back the machloikas that we began in the beginning of the Perek. Again, if a person was bederech rechoika, and let's go now keshitas rabsheshes, and rabsheshes holds that even if you made the effort and you brought it, it was not effective. Why would the Braisa answer that the reason why the Torah needed to specify derech rechoika is to tell you lepoitrem and akaris? The Braisa should have given a better answer according to Rav Sheshes. The reason why the Torah said derech rechoika is to tell you that you cannot bring it. Even if you may, not only you're not mechuyev to bring it, but if you bring it, it's not going to be effective. The Braisa did not give that answer. Why didn't the Braisa give that answer? And by the way, that's the answer for the Tamei. We don't let him bring the Tamei. So give the same answer. Derech rechoika is that he cannot bring it. Loi hurtza. So the Gemara brought this Braisa here to show that it must be that this Tana like Rav Nachman, now really, it's really going to be a kasha on Rav Sheshes. Rav Sheshes cannot go against the Braisa, but the Gemara is for some reason not going to focus on that. Says the Gemara, Uchaman the Omar Hurza. This Braisa only makes sense with Rav Nachman. Again, because according to Rav Sheshes, the answer the Braisa should have given wasn't Lepoitrim and Akaris. Should have been a bigger Chiddush. The Torah specified Derech Rechaika to tell you that Loi Hurza is the Charai that this Braisa holds that yes, Hurza. And now asks the Gemara, from the many people that were speaking about if you can't bring Pesach Rishon, bring Pesach Sheni, we spoke about women. We spoke about Zav voice. We spoke about Nitzura Ois. We spoke about Nidois. Asks the Gemara, Isha Basheni Bachlal Mi Mechayva. Aiva Hatanya, guys, we just learned this, right? That Yochel Lo Yiyu Oisen As Hasheni. Elot Mei Nefesh Vishohay B'derech Rechaika. Zavin, look at this Braisa. This Braisa we had already back in the Samachs. Zavin umitzoirain. This is all the male, all masculine. Ubay alenidois. How do you know that they also get to bring the Pesach Sheni? So when the Torah begins in Parshas Bahaloischa, the whole parsha of Pesach Sheni, Hashem writes the words ish, not once, twice, ish, ish. So it's not about all other type of men. This Braisa clearly doesn't mention a Nida, Bayali Nida, doesn't mention a Zava. Why? Because women don't bring Pesach Sheni. So which one is it? So now it's easy for us to remember because this is what we just had on Daf Tzadik Aleph. We had this 2 days ago. Like Kasha, what were the three-way machlokes tanoim? Ha, Rabbi Yosi. That's the first Braisa, the one that we learned today. Rabbi Yosi holds that women are equally mechuyev. It's an obligation. It's not reshus, according to Rabbi Yosi. Pesach Rishon ain't Pesach Sheni. Remember that halashon because the Torah says b'mixas nefashos. Nefashos means men and women, and then we are makish Pesach Sheni to Pesach Rishon kol chukas haPesach. And the Braisa that we quoted from Samach Zayin follows both the Tana Rabbi Yehuda and the Tana Rabbi Shimon. And by the way, they also don't have the same opinion. In other words, Rabbi Yehuda holds that they're not obligated, but if you want to make them tfeilos, you could. Remember, Rabbi Shimon went even more than that. Rabbi Shimon says that by Pesach Sheni, you can't even include them. Enachanami machlokes tanoim. All right, Chavre, this is really the heart of Pesach Sheni. The heart of this Pedic is today, this Tana Rabbanan. Tana Rabbanan. Now, when we gave the intro, we spoke about a ger shenes gayer being Pesach Rishon or Pesach Sheni. Rashi gives this example, but the explicit machlokes is about chiyuv kares, and it's fascinating. It's going to be very helpful, especially since it's a short daf today, to Pashat learn a few Rashis inside. So if you can find a Rashi already on the beginning of this Braisa, it's mamish, it's on the same height, maybe 1 line or 2 lines down, 1 finger in the Gemara, the other finger in Rashi. Says the Gemara, Tana Rabbanan. You should know chayiv kares al rishon, v'chayiv kares al hasheni. Each Pesach carries a chiyuv kares, divrei Rebbe. Nekuda, let's read inside Rashi. Chayiv kares al rishon, v'chayiv kares al hasheni. It's important to learn Rashi because what do you mean you chayiv kares twice? Rashi wants to make something very clear. If a person, God forbid, b'mezid, did not bring the rishon, and then again did not bring the sheni, this person will not be chayiv kares twice. Don't take Rebbe's words kepshute. Look inside Rashi. Chiyuv kares yesh al zeva al zeh. However, says Rashi, ubechad gavra loy mishkachas lo. The Rebbe doesn't mean the way it sounds, because the trei kotle bechad gavra leka. Okay. The im leingen the im shagag b'shneim. Another thing, what Rebbe doesn't mean. Rashi wants to take his words out of the simplest application. It cannot be the way. Oh, chayiv kares means there's another rule, Chavre. Remember that any lav for which if a person, God forbid, violates b'mezid, you're chayiv kares, so that's the rule. If you violated that b'shoigig, you have to bring a carbon chatas. Rebbe also does not mean that if a person was a shoigig b'pesach rishon and a shoigig b'pesach sheni, that he has to bring 2 chatois. Look inside Rashi, the im and the im shagag b'shneim. Yis chayiv shtei chatois. Also, says Rashi, leka lemeimer hachem. Why? Because the kares, the Pesach, ein chayovin al shgagos chatas to begin with. True, there's a chiyuv kares, true, it's the 2 exceptions of an asay with kares, but the rule that if you violate something, b'mezid, you're chayiv kares. That on b'shoigig, you're chayiv chatas, says Rashi, right, we're reviewing the beginning of Masechta Krisus. That is only on a lav and not on an asay. So hold on. So now we have to understand what exactly is Rabbi saying. If you're not going to be chayiv kadas twice, yeah, Gabriel, and you're not going to be chayiv two chatois, I'm scooting down a few lines in Rashi. Elo zokt Rashi nafkamina. Remember this. The im shogag beechad mehen vehezid bachaveiroi. Herst. If in either one of the two you were a shogeg, and in the other one of the two, either one you were amazed, you will be chayiv. You will be chayiv. And then Rashi adds, inami leger shemisgayer ben shnei pesachim. That according to Rebbe, you'll be chayiv. Because Rebbe holds that Pesach Sheni is regel b'fnei atzmai. But remember, Rebbe is speaking about kares, and kares does not mean that you chayiv kares twice. Kares means both on Nishan and on Sheni. Guys, keep your finger on Rashi when we go back into the Gemara. Kares means that if a person was a shoygig in either one of the two, and amazed in any one of them, so for example, a person was shoygig Pesach Rishon, typical case. So then he's going to bring Pesach Sheni. By Pesach Sheni, he was amazed. Rabbi holds his chayv kares. The other Tanoim will hold he's not chayv. He's chayv kares for Pesach Sheni. You're not going to be chayv kares. Rabbi holds no. You're chayv kares for Pesach Sheni if you will not yet chayv kares for Pesach Rishon. Back inside the Gemara. The second, we're going to have two more Tanoim, but both of the latter two have a common theme, which is that they don't view Pesach Sheni as a stand-alone yontiv. It's not a regel b'fnei atzmai. Yes, it's tashlumin l'rishoin. Let's read it inside. That Rab Nosson Oimer chayiv karas al rishoin upatur al hasheni. Now, look inside the Rashi. Also, to continue, Rashi is explaining beautifully. Upatur al hasheni, meaning, what case is he speaking about? The case that we spoke of before. Im shogag b'rishon. So for the rishon, he was a shogeg. He's not chayiv kares. And then b'sheni, he was mazid. That's the place where Rabbi Nosson, since he holds that the sheni is only tashlum and l'rishon, it's not a yomtiv for itself. So if you violated the mazid only sheni, you can't be chayiv kares. It's once you were exempt of kares once, and sheni is only tashlumin. Now you didn't make the tashlumin, which is, shame on you. You did it b'mezid, but you're not going to be chayiv kares. You're not going to be chayiv kares. Now Rab Chananya ben Akavia held even more. Look inside. Keep your finger on Rashi in the third sheet. Oimer af al harishain ein chayiv kares ela imkein also es hasheni. Look inside the Rashi. Af al harishain im hazid. What happens if a person, God forbid, b'mezid did not bring Pesach Rishon? According to Rabbi, it's chayv kares. Even though he has to bring Pesach Sheni. Don't confuse one with the other. If a person was amazed in Rishon, he has to bring Pesach Sheni, but he's chayv kares on Pesach Rishon. Says Rab Chananya ben Akavia, no. If a person was mazed in Pesach Rishon, do you know when this person will be chayv kares? If b'mezid he doesn't bring Pesach Sheni, abel im asa es hasheni. But if he brought a sheni, then not only is it a tashlumin, but it's a tikkun. And look inside next lines in Rashi, or even more. He didn't bring the sheni, but he was shogag boy. The reason why he didn't bring the sheni was a shoygeg. Already wasn't his fault. Berishani was amazed. So you would argue he didn't do the tashlumin. It's more than that. In order for him to be chayv kares, it's a yid that b'mezid, not brought the rishon nor brought the sheni, both b'mezid. Im shogag boy patur ligamri, because the sheni, I'm reading inside the Rashi, the end of the narrow lines, tashlumin the rishon v'takanto l'rishonu. Umezid shaloi Rashi means Pesach Sheni is a gemoroi shel kares rishon. You can argue, I don't understand. The guy didn't bring it b'mezid Pesach Rishon. I know that b'sheni he was a shoygig. So what? Be chayv kares for the rishon. The part of the kares, when you chayv kares, when you were amazed by both. If you're lacking amazed in both, then you don't really have amazed yet. You had a half amazed. Not a full mazid. If you don't have a full mazid, you're not chayv kares. So it's more than just a tashlumin. Tashlumin means if I take a debt, I owe now, I pay later. It's more than that. The debt is incurred by both pesachim. You need to have a mazid by both. Beautiful. That's the three-way machlokes. Now, as far as these words, whether Pesach Rishon is regel b'fnei atzmai or whether it is tashlumen, it's only a two-way machlokes. It's Rabbi, regel b'fnei atzmai, and the other two Tanoim. But within tashlumen, you have this way of looking at it. It's tashlumen, or it's part of the chiyuv. So therefore, it becomes a tikkun. Now let's read it inside the Gemara. And for us, this goes to Rebbe and Abnosin, the Tanya, Gershon is Gayer ben Shnei Pesachim, and same thing will be Katan Sheigel ben Shnei Pesachim. So listen, if Pesach Sheni is a regel b'fnei atzmai, which is the Tanach and this Braisa, which is Rebbe, then Chayiv Lasis Pesach Sheni divrei Rebbe. However, Abnosin Oimer, no, only Kol Shezakuk L'Rishain, Zakuk L'Sheni. But Kol she'eino zakuk l'rishain, because he was a minor, because he wasn't yet Jewish. Eino zakuk l'sheni. And now the Gemara is going to do something that's not always common. Normally, we're going to explain the underlying of their machlokes. B'maiko mifliga. Rebbe Savar Sheni regel b'fnei atzmaihu. Rab Nassan holds, like we spoke out, Sheni is a tashlumen l'rishain. But tashlumin l'rishon doesn't mean that it has the koyach to rectify, or to word it the way Rashi worded. If a person b'mezid did not bring the Pesach rishon, then he fully violated the isur. So whether he's going to bring sheni or not won't affect the outcome of kaddish, because takunei the rishon le'misakenle. And Rabbi Hananya ben Akavya savar that sheni is takanto l'rishonhu. And not only does it have the koyach to rectify, but adding what Rashi is adding, that if the person was mezid b'rishon, he was shoygig b'sheni, but he didn't rectify, he's not going to be chayv kaddish. Because takanto doesn't only mean it has the koyach to rectify, it really means that it's such an extension of the rishon that you can only say that someone violated not bringing Pesach if he did not bring both b'mezid. If not, you're lacking in the mezid, so you're not going to be chayv kaddish. And now says the Gemara, Ushloshtan mikra echad darshu. Now we're going to appreciate more when we learn in Nashi that ki, the word ki, right, can mean four different meanings. And this is how this is so negeya all the way down to this machlokes. So here, Chevra, we're quoting the pasuk in Bahaloischa. Let me just quote the whole pasuk. If you have a chumash and you look inside, you'll see their machlokes a lot clearer. The pasuk begins like this: V'ho'ish asher hu tahar. This is in the Pesach Sheni. That if someone was tahar, ubaderech lo hoya, v'chad alaso isa Pesach, and he didn't bring the Pesach, no one is debating. The beginning of the pasuk is speaking about Pesach Rishon. Someone was tahar, and ubaderech lo hoya, and v'chadal means he refrained to bring the Pesach. So the Torah writes, "V'nichrasa hanefesh ahi me'amel." Atkan, clear. Now listen to the words of the Torah. Ki. How do you teach ki? That's the machlokes over here. So it says, Ki korban Hashem lo hikriv b'moyadoi cheto yisoy ha'ishahu. Now, if ki is an explanation, so the ki, ki korban Hashem lo hikriv is still speaking about Pesach Rishon. Why are you chayv kaddish and cheto yisoy? Why does it have to say cheto yisoy? It already says you're chayv kaddish. We'll see these details. But you can say ki means if. Ki is a new thing. First, you're chayv kaddish for not bringing Pesach Rishon. Then the pasuk is beginning to speak about a new violation. That if, not since, not daha means because. No, if ki korban Hashem lo hikriv b'moyadoi, if you didn't bring Pesach Sheni and the Pesach Sheni the 14th of Iyar, now you're also going to be chayiv. Now the Torah doesn't say the words kaddish. The end of the pasuk, if the end of the pasuk is speaking about another violation, all the Torah says is cheto yisa. And we're going to have to prove that cheto yisa also means kaddish. So it's kaddish for the Rishon, kaddish for the Sheni. Again, the way Rashi says, never twice on the same year, but either one or the other. Let's read it now inside. So you have to write the word etc. here. Again, the reisha of the pasuk is clearly speaking about Pesach Rishon. Kaddish Pesach Rishon, that's clear. Question is, that's the ending of the reisha of the pasuk. That's the liyavad berishon. Inami, guys, put here the word ki. Ki the taich of ki is inami. If, not because, the Torah is not speaking about the same case and explaining why you're chayiv kares. The Torah now is giving a new case, inami. If, what's inami? Inami, you didn't bring the Pesach, it must be speaking about another Pesach. If not, why, how is it another case? That inami korban Hashem lahikir b'mayadoi, the last line of the Amid. The seif of the pasuk is speaking about the sheni, and on that the Torah says cheto yisa. Now, so that's Rebbe's raya that kares bein l'rishon bein l'sheni. It must be regel b'fnei atzmai. So the Gemara says at the end of the Amid, okay, I get it. Even if the word ki here means a new case, if inami, but how do you know that cheto yisa means kares? Maybe it means some other type of punishment. Maybe there's no punishment at all. Cheto yisa, the person, that's the biggest punishment. The person sins, tzaddik gimel. So here another little nuance, which is beautiful. This is the darshaning. This is the real Gemara to learn Torah Shebal Peh from Torah Shebachsav. Have it like this. In Parsha Shlach, the Torah speaks about the following. It's not clear what sin we're talking about. It says, "V'hanefesh asher tase b'yad rama." If a soul will do something nach b'yad rama, min ha'ezrach or min hager, that what's the b'yad rama? Es Hashem hu megadev v'nichresa. What does it mean? Hashem hu megadev in Parsha Shlach. So this Rebbe must hold the top line in the Amid that megadev of Shlach is referring to the sin called mevarech Hashem. Mevarech Hashem literally means someone who's blessing God, but it means someone who's blaspheming God. I think that even in English, blaspheming, mistama, is also, we're so careful not to say the curse to God, so we say the opposite. Mevarech Hashem. Now, if Parsha Shalach is speaking about someone that's Mevarech Hashem, now, okay, so what? How do we answer anything? Now, for Mevarech Hashem, in Shalach, the Torah writes the words, V'nichresa. But how does that help us over here? So now the Gemara says, Gavaldik. The Torah mentions, remember the story, the end of Emor, that the Vayikoiv ben ha'isha ha'Yisraelis as Hashem. The Torah in the end of Parsha Semer is saying that whole story. The Torah there doesn't write the words kares. The Torah there does write the words that the nasa chetoi. Oh, now if Parsha Shalach, the Megadev, and Parshas Emor is the same sin, in Shalach we have the words kares. For the same sin, the Torah says v'nasa chetoi. Now we have a gezeda shava that when it says here in Parshas Ba'alois chetoi yiso ha'ishahu, chetoi yiso also means kares. Beautiful. And it says, Mevarech Hashem, in Parshas Emor, there's no debate. There the Torah says, Vayikoiv es Hashem. That clearly was Mevarech Hashem. It says there the words, V'nasa chetoi. So now, Gomar hai chetoi, dahacha mechetoi dahasam. Ma lahalon. When the Torah says in Emor the words, V'nasa chetoi, we know it means kares. How do you know it means kares? Because we know from Parsha Shalach, for the same sin, the Torah writes V'nichresa. So Afkan, the end of the sefer of the pasuk in Baha Loischa, that according to Rabbi, the word ki means inami. Oh, so if also you didn't bring a new case, Pesach Sheni, what are you chayiv? Cheta Yisa. What's that mean? Kares. However, Rabbi doesn't touch the word ki as inami. Ki can mean because. Oh, Ramasan Savar, v'chada lasois Pesach v'nichresa is Pesach Rishon. Pesach Rishon. No one is debating the ratio of the pasuk. However, the high key, when the pasuk continues, right? The korban Hashem lahikar b'mayadoi. The ha who, right? The ha means because it's a tam. And v'hachi kamer achmana. The ha korban Hashem lo yikriv b'mayadoi rishon. Why are you chayiv kares? Only because you did not bring Pesach Rishon. Because according to Rav Nassan, Pesach Sheni is only Tashlumin. It means, the way we explained, that if a person was shoygeg by Pesach Rishon, and even if he was mazid in Pesach Sheni, he's not going to be chayiv kares. He be mazid for Pesach Sheni, it's a Tashlumin l'Rishon. The kares is only for Pesach Rishon. The only problem is that if both parts of the pasuk is speaking about the same Pesach Rishon, why did Hashem have to finish the pasuk by saying Cheto Yisa? The Torah already wrote that v'nichresa. So hi Cheto Yisa may avidlei. So here it's mamash the opposite. So it explains the Gemara. Go back to Shlach The pasuk in Shlach again, v'ha nefesh asher tasa b'yad rama min ha'ezach umin ager. As Hashem u'megadev, he holds that megadev is not mevarech as Hashem. No, that pasuk in Shlach is speaking about some type of avodah zara. And why? And therefore what? The Gomar hay chetoi da hasam ma hay chetoi da hachem ma hachem. If you don't bring Pesach Rishon, what do you get? You get kares af hasam fakert. We want to make it clear that for being this type, practicing that type of avodah zara, you're going to get kares. Now, Rab Chananya ben Akavya holds, going back to the pasuk in Bahaloischa, that when it says the Chadalas Pesach, that's the reisha of the pasuk. Again, the third time no one disagrees. That's speaking about Pesach Rishon. And what is it? V'nichrasa. Inami is if. Do you know when you're going to get kares for Pesach Rishon? If you also don't bring Pesach Sheni, b'mezid. Not only is it tashlumin, don't say you didn't bring Pesach Rishon, you chayv kares. You only fully sinned if you added the mezid also inami in Pesach Sheni. And then you chayv kares. And here again, v'hai cheto yisrael may avidlei. So it's going to be like we learned before in Abnasan, to tell you that this type of megadev, this type of oral avodah zarah is a sin for which, right, there's a chiyuv kares. Now, now the Gemara summarizes, and Rashi that we learned in Amud Aleph. How did Rashi know to touch that shot and Rebbe from here? Hilkach, his it bozeh ubozeh. If a person did not bring Rishon and Sheni b'mezid, then divrei hakoil chayiv. And again, chayiv doesn't mean twice. You chayiv once. Shagag bozeh ubozeh. Then divrei hakoil pater. Where do we have a machloikis? His it b'rishon. V'shagag b'sheni, both l'Rebbe u'l'Rab Nasan you're chayiv. You were shogeg b'sheni, who cares? Sheni is not a tikkun for the Rishon. However, l'Rab Chananya ben Akavya, even though you were hizid b'Rishon, it's amazing, and you did not bring the Sheni, I don't care that it was b'shogeg, I do care. Why do I care? Because the Sheni is the completion of the first, to the point that it's mesak in it. Potter. And if what's going to happen if shagag b'rishon, and then when it comes to the sheni, b'sheni, only according to Rabbi you're going to be chayiv, because Rabbi holds it's regel b'fnei atzmei. However, according to Rab Nasan and according to Rab Chananya ben Akavya, since the sheni is only a tashlumin l'rishon, if and when you were shagag b'rishon, you never owed kares. Nothing has to be kana. Now you should bring Pesach Sheni, but if you didn't bring Pesach Sheni, even though you didn't bring it b'mezid, you're going to be pater from kares. Kares is only for not bringing Pesach Rishon. Okay, starting with the new Mishnah. Ezuhi derech rechaika. How do you define derech rechaika? Says the first time of our Mishnah, Rabbi Akiva, it means, this is the way we explained the Mishnah yesterday, that you find yourself Erev Pesach, from the beginning of the time that you can shech the Pesach, min ha-moidi'in ulachutz, from the city of Moidi'in or further away from Yerushalayim, and we're not speaking dafke in Moidi'in, but uchimidasa l'chol ruach, or a like distance, right, in any direction. And what's the magic about Moidi'in? So we'll see in the Gemara again. Let's just continue to learn one way, as we have been learning until now, that it will take you, if you were to walk, you can get a horse, you can make an effort, but you're not getting a horse. You're walking from that location to the Azara, you won't make it there bisman shchita. Guys, we're going to learn other shitos later, but that's the way we're going to learn right now. So that's called derech rechaika. Even though you're going to make it bisman achila, we're going to focus on the zman shchita. These are the words of Rabbi Akiva. And by the way, people say, why are we speaking about walking with your feet? Why don't we speak about maybe you should be chayv to take a horse? It's not that way. We spoke about the story of the Alter Rebbe Zachasid. It's called sholosh regalim. It's called a regel for a reason, that we're supposed to walk to Yerushalayim. So we don't care if you can find a quicker way of transportation. If you can't walk from where you are and get to the Azara, again, we're going to learn now, Bisman Shchita, then you're called B'derech Rechaika. However, Rabbi Eliezer Oimer, no. You know what Derech Rechaika means? Mi iskufa su Azara l'chutz. If you are one step outside the threshold, you're exempt. Now, we have to just put this together with what we chazer today, what we learned yesterday, that if you're going to go with the sheet of Rav Sheshes, right, that holds loy hurza, it's going to be hard to understand that because what all the Yidden have to be inside the Azara. We kept on saying that it's not even, it's not practical. Okay, there's miracles, we fit in there, but normally one Yid represented the group. What are we saying over here? That if you are outside the threshold, now if outside the threshold only means that you are exempt, but you can bring it, it's not difficult. Right? It's much harder to put Rav Sheshes together with Rabbi Eliezer. And indeed, when we learned yesterday, we made it clear that the Mishnah yesterday, on which Rav Nachman and Rav Sheshes were not speaking, they didn't understand this taich, Ni'eskufa Suazar. Okay. Amalei Rabbi Yosi. Rabbi Yosi is agreeing with Rabbi Eliezer that Lafikach Nakud Al Hey, if you look inside a Sefer Torah, on top of the letter Hey, in the word Rechaika, but Derech Rechaika, there's a dot. Now, what is a dot? A Nakuda limits, right? Nakuda is the greatest tzimtzum. So we're limiting a din. That the reason why there's a Nakuda on top of the Hey, don't touch Rechaika means far. It's limiting the distance. Ella, like Rabbi Eliezer, miskufa suazara ulachutz. That's called your far. And the flip side of this, which is beautiful, is that how do you become close? You take one step. You take one step, you're in. Okay. Amarullah. Says Ula, I want you to know that when the Tanakama Rabbi Akiva says min moidi'in to Yerushalayim, he didn't give you a kilometer, he didn't give you a measurement, that min hamoidi'in li Yerushalayim. You know how far that is? Chamesh eser milan haba. It's 15 mil. It's 15 kilometers approximately. Again, 1 mil is 2,000 amas.
10 miles.
I'm sorry?
It's about 10 miles.
It's about 10 miles because 1 kilometer, I think, is 0.6. I'm from Brazil. It's 1.6 something, right? Of a mile.
1.6 equals
for me,
1 mile.
I'll tell you that, Baruch, when I learned this always, my teachers were happy to speak to Europeans and to South Americans because at least you're very close. Actually, according to many opinions, a kilometer and a mile is mamish the same. Because there's a big machlokes exactly how much is an am on feet. So there's a kilometer is 3,200 something. It fits. So it's like a measurement. Okay. Or better, we're in America. I take it back. Let's stick to millen. That's it. 15.
It's about 4 hours walk.
It's about 4 hours walk. Mamish, that's exactly what we're going to learn right now. It's very fascinating Gemara about how Chazal estimated the average person's walk. And it doesn't mean you have to walk straight. We'll see. It's if you walk straight, then you can walk slower. You can walk quicker and take a break. This is a big topic. What's the average distance that people cover one day walking? The Gemara over here. So now, 1 second. So he said it's 15 mil. So you should know, hold on, that it must be that Savar Allah going to Ula. Ula holds, ki ha, Rabbi Yochanan asked the question, Kama mahalech adam biyoim. How much distance does a person cover? Walking, asara parsois. Now guys, 1 parsa is 4 mil. Remember that. 10 parsois means 40 million, 40 kilometers. And Rabbi Yochanan explains a detail. People begin a day, the latest by the crack of dawn. We're supposed to get up before it's dark, right? Or ira shachar. When you start on a trip, you go on Alois HaShachar. So we're expecting a person a whole day to walk from Alois HaShachar until Tseis. So look how he divides how much space will you cover. So Alois HaShachar ad Haneitz, you cover 5 mil. Where did he get that from? We'll see in a moment. Now, also at the end of the day, from Shkias Akam until Tseis HaKechavim, you're still working. You're still walking. 5 mil. So if we're trying to figure out how did we get to 40 mil. So far, where are we up to? We took off 10. So you have now 30 mil to cover. So we divide the 30 mil, half in the morning part of the day and half in the afternoon part of the day. Pashulat Talasin. So what do we do? 50 mil from the morning until midday. Now you have to also understand what that means. If you're going to push it takes 6, right? If we're speaking about the whole from the morning, from the 8, if it's 6 hours, well, 15 divided by 6 is 2.5. And we all know, again, I'm used to kilometers, you can walk much more than 2.5 in a kilometer, but if you're walking straight, then that's what Chazal expect. It means if you're walking taka from Alois HaShachar, we're going from Nates until noon, either you're walking the whole 6 hours and you're covering 2.5, or if you're walking quicker, then you take a break. Then you take a rest. Okay, so no, it's average. Here it's 2.5 mil an hour. Now it works. Now, how is that connected to us? It's beautiful. Because we are teaching the Mishnah. Derech Rechoike means that from the Zman of the beginning of offering of a carbon, which is in the afternoon, until the end of the Zman of Shchita. Zman of Shchita is not says. The end of Shchita in the Beis HaMikdash is Shkia. You can't make it there. And the Mishnah says, Min HaMoedian. Oh, Mama Schwitz, because we, Taka, just said right now that in the afternoon, average person walks 15 mil. B'diyuk. That's why he said that Min HaMoedian, the Yerushalayim, is 15 mil. Ula and Rabbi Yochanan are saying the same thing. Ula latame da amar ula ezi derech rechaiko kol she'en yachal likanis b'shas shchita. All of that fits. Dafke, which we're putting all together with Rabbi Yochanan. All of the whole Torah only worked if the taich of derech rechaiko means that you cannot make it to the Beis HaMikdash until the end of Zman Shchita, which is Shkia. That's the 50 mil, because we're going to learn soon that there's another way of understanding derech rechaiko. That from when the Zman Chiyuv begins, if you were to start walking, you cannot make it to the Azor until the end of Zman Achila. And Zman Achila, quickly Chazir. Rabbi Akiva says, Midaraisa the whole night. Rabbi Loza ben Azariah says, Midaraisa until Chatzois, but you're adding another 6 hours, you're adding another 12 hours. So it's like 2 steps. Ula holds the way we were learning the whole time. It's until the end of Zman Shchita, which is till the end of Shkia. Based on Rabbi Yochanan, now you know that Min HaMoedian in Yerushalayim is 15 mil. Because if Min HaMoedian in Yerushalayim would have been more than 15 mil, then you can't even make it there. You understand? Then even if you would have been further from Moedian, you would not be able to make it there. But that's the measurement. Now, Omar Mar, that Ma'alois HaShachar, Adnei Tzachama, when Rabbi Yochanan is breaking down the 40 mil, so he says, he breaks it down like this, that from Alois until Nates, 5 mil. Now, guys, how much time is it from Alois until Nates? How much time is it from Shkia until Tzeitz? That's tomorrow's daf. That's the whole important Rabbeinu Tam. To Shkias or to Tzeisin. Oh, well, let's go back to Chsiv, and this is the pasuk in the Chumash. This is the pasuk in Vayera, right? When the Malachim were saving Lot and those who wanted to join him from his family. Uchamoi hashachar Allah. Alois hashachar. Guys, our days begin at the crack of dawn. Vayoitzu hamalachim. The malachim were hurrying him. He got lazy. He woke up never before Nates, but it wasn't before Alois. Oh, in other words, clearly they began to walk out of Sodom from Alois hashachar because he hurried. They began right then. And it says Hashemesh Yatza La'aretz, which means sunrise. And at that time, Lot and his entourage reached the city called Soyar. So now we know that if you begin walking from Alois, from Sodom, you're going to hit Soyar by Nates. And I know the distance of these locations. So that's the premise. Okay. Now, how much is Kedei Hiluch Mil? Guys, this is these important sugyas. You have from the 18 minutes, you have on the other hand, the 24 minutes. We'll speak more about this tomorrow. Let's keep on learning over here. Says the Gemara, Gufa, Amarula, Eza, Hu, Derech Rechoika, Kol She'eni Yachal Likonis B'Shas Shchita. This is all in Shitas Rabbi Akiva. However, guys, this is only Ula. Rabbi Yehuda says no. Rabbi Yehuda also B'Shitas Rabbi Akiva. If a Yid is 15 mil away or 16 mil away, let's go with the same. You won't make it to the Azara B'Shas Shchita, but you'll make it there during the time that you have the mitzvah to eat it. According to Rabbi Yehuda, that's not called Derech Rechoika. Derech Rechoika only means Kol She'eni Yachal Likonis B'Shas Achila. You have to be much further away. Much further away. You have to know again, Rabbi Akiva the whole night, Rabbi Elazar ben Azari until Chatzos. But just because you cannot make it to the Azara Bisman Shchita, why would I care? Taka, why would I care? Not every Jew has to be in the Azara B'Shah Shchita. You should have asked someone prior that they should check for you, and you'll make it there on time to eat. Machlokes Ula and Rav Yehuda. So when Rabbi heard that, Rabbi had a big kasha. Amalei Rabbi Ula. Now let's put together. If you remember, we learned Daf Tzadik Amid Beis, Machlokes, it was Rav and Ula, but there was Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav. The Machlokes whether you can shech for someone who's Tamei Sheretz. Remember that? And why yeah, why not? Because the Tamei Sheretz during the day is Tamei. But at night, he'll be able to eat kachim. And it appears that each one here is taking an opposite position. So Rabba asks Sula l'didach kasha. I have a problem from you on you, and also l'Rav Yehuda kasha, because Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav and Tzadik Amid Beis l'didach kasha. The Amrat you said, you say that kol she'ein yachal likanes b'shah shchita. That's the way you defined it. Derech rechaika. Hold on. Well, Tamei Sheretz, which is also a Jew, not because he's physically not able to get there, but because of halachically he's tamei. The ein yachal likanes b'shah shchita. And ironically, you, Ula, were the one that said on Daf Tzadik Amid Beis that you can shecht and you can throw the Pesach Rishon, al Tamei Sheretz, because it doesn't bother us that you are unfit during the time of the Shechita. We don't focus on the time of the Shechita. We only focus on the time of Achila. Well, if that's the case, and if you can taka your beyond Moedian, you won't make it there to Yerushalayim Bisman Shechita. Why would I care if you could make it there Bisman Achila? And the same contradiction in the reverse, Ula Rav Yehuda Kasha. The Amar, you here are saying, that the definition of Derech Rechaika, it's not enough that you are 15.1. No, you got to be much further. And that means that if you are way beyond that, but if you would walk straight and covering the same distance by foot, you'll make it there b'shas achila you chayv to bring. In other words, what are we focusing on? That as long as you are able to eat it, you should be part of Pesach Rishon. Well, in the flip side, Tamei Sheretz is only prohibited during the time of Shechita because he's Tamei then. Tamei Sheretz is only a Rishon. Mikvah, head of Shemesh, makes him completely pure even for Achilas Kachim. Yet you on the same Tzadik Amid Beis, you Rav Yehuda, now Rav Yehuda quoted Rav, but so he holds like that. You, Rav Yehuda says that ain't sheichten b'zarkin al Tamei Sheretz. Mamash, beautiful kash. So the Gemara answers, Amar Lei. So Ula responds to Rabba. He's not only going to defend himself, but he's going to defend his bar pluta. He's going to defend Rav Yehuda Marav. Lididi loy kasha, or loy lididi kasha. The final line of the Amid, the loy Rav Yehuda kasha. Lididi loy kasha. Why is that? Because the deferment that Torah gives to someone who's b'derech rechaika, and Ula stands his ground. We learned the Ula Shita the whole time. If you cannot make it b'shah shchita, it's okay. You can bring it in Pesach Sheni, or according to Rab Sheshes, you must bring it in Pesach Sheni. Don't mix that with Tuma. That was given to someone who's tahar. However, ve'ein derech rechaika l'tamei. We don't call a tamei derech rechaika. And Rashi beautifully, look inside Rashi 3 lines before the bottom of the Amid. Abo l'tamei, the end of the line, Rashi says, loitala rachmana petura didei b'derech rechaika. Don't mix just because you halachically cannot enter. It doesn't mean you're distant. There's 2 different dinim. You're physically distant, or you're not allowed, or you are tamei. Ella betuma, betama the tuma. What's the issue of someone who's tamei? What's the issue? Is mishum achilahi. V'lav mishum asiya. B'chlal, someone who's tamei is never exempted of asiyas karbanos because the tamei doesn't have to enter the Beis Hamikdash. None of us have to enter the Beis Hamikdash. We can send a shliach to yachal l'shaleach karbanosa. V'chulei. Okay, and therefore, Ula stands his ground that Ula is lenient, that when it comes to a Tuma, the whole issue of Tuma, by kachim, the whole issue is not about bringing it, it's about eating it. So that's why Ula holds that if a person is Tamei Sheretz, that you're shoichten v'zorkin al Tamei Sheretz. When it comes to derech rechaika, the Torah is giving an exemption. If you are far away, and I have the right to say that the definition of far away is only b'shas shchita. Inside the last line, derech rechaika was l'tohar, but ain't derech rechaika l'tamei. Okay, and the same thing similarly in the other side of Tzadik Dalid, l'Rav Yehuda loy kasha, because Tamei sheretz, Rav Yehuda is the one that quotes Rav that says that ein shoichtim v'zorken al Tamei sheretz. So he says Tamei sheretz rachmana dachye. The Torah excluded him. Dechsiv ish ki yeh Tamei lo nefesh. And let's go further. Mi lo yaskinan, when the Torah speaks about the Tamei Nefesh, the Torah didn't say on what day of Tamei Nefesh you are at. If you are Tamei Nefesh, even if today is your last day. So mi lo yaskinan, add the words also, shachal shviya shaloi liyas be'erev Pesach. And you can argue if a person is on the 7th day of Tamei Meis, then that person will be allowed to eat at night. And the Torah nevertheless says, the Rachmana says, he brings a Pesach Sheni. So when it comes to Tumah, even though the Torah speaks about a Tamei Nefesh without limiting it, Tamei Nefesh only on the 6th day or earlier. No, it doesn't say that. So you see that the Torah is focusing when it comes to Tumah, what is your status right now? So therefore, Rabbi Yehuda Amarav, that if right now someone is Tamei Sheretz, he's no different than the Tamei Meis. And ein shoichtem v'zorken olav. That's the din of Tumah. And punkt verkehrt, derech rechaika, he stands his ground, doesn't mean that you can't make it there. Lizman shchita, derech rechaika must mean that you can't even make it there b'zman achila. If you are further than moediin, but you can make it there. Let me word it differently. The Mishnah says moediin, so there must have been 2 moediins. This is important. So Rav Yehuda, the Mishnah says min hamoediin ulachutz. Rav Yehuda understands that it's referring to another city of moediin. That is much more than 15 mil. And you can't even make it there. Bisman achila. God willing to be continued. Tomorrow's daf is the big daf about Shkia.
Shkia.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Hatzamach.